With vast forests and more fresh water than anywhere in the entire country, Michigan is beautiful yet full of mystery. Hidden within those woods are creatures beyond our comprehension, and in the booming industrial cities, corruption is lurking. So, here are my top 5 mysteries in Michigan. Starting with number 5, the Lake Michigan Triangle. Now, by today's day and age, you've probably heard of the Bermuda Triangle, which is a location in the Atlantic Ocean where ships and planes and all kinds of things go missing, but just in general, things just tend to go really wrong in the Bermuda Triangle, and the Lake Michigan Triangle is pretty much the same. Dating back to the 17th century, there's been unexplained phenomena. But we're going to start out with mapping out exactly where the Lake Michigan Triangle lies. The triangle begins in Ludington, goes over to Benton Harbor, goes over to Manitowoc in Wisconsin, and then back to Ludington. The Lake Michigan Shipwreck Research Association says that the Lake Michigan Triangle is all a myth. They say that the reason why that there's more unexplained things happening there is because there's just more things happening there in the lake. However, it's undoubtable that there has been some really strange things that have happened within the Lake Michigan Triangle. First, the Griffon. A French ship disappeared without a trace in 1679. It was by far the biggest ship to set sail in Lake Michigan at the time, and none other ships could even compete with it for another 80 years. And it was carrying just a boatload of expensive furs. And while Native Americans on board warned the French sailors that there was a storm brewing, they set sail anyways, only to never be seen again. And while many have searched for the wreckage, it's considered like the holy grail of shipwrecks within Lake Michigan, it's still not been found. There was a couple in Charlevoix pretty recently who said that they found it, but most experts say that their description of what they found underwater doesn't really add up with what historically the ship would have looked like. So for now, the Griffon remains a mystery. In 1950, a flight carrying 58 people disappeared while flying right over the center of the Lake Michigan Triangle. It was Northwestern Airlines Flight 2501. It took off from New York, headed to Minneapolis. It did have to change course mid-flight because of bad weather and fly over Lake Michigan. Within minutes, contact with Flight 2501 was lost. Naturally, the Coast Guard started up a search looking for the passengers and the crew, but the only thing that they were ever able to find was a blanket with the airline's logo on it. Another interesting disappearance in the triangle is that of Stephen Kubacki. He's thought to have walked out onto a frozen Lake Michigan and just vanished for 15 months, only to be discovered more than a year later, 600 miles away, with a completely different pair of clothes and objects that he said that he didn't even recognize. He was a student at Hope College in Holland and left behind his parents, girlfriend, a whole life, and he says he had no idea what happened. To this day, Kubacki says he doesn't remember anything other than walking out onto the ice and then waking up in a field in Massachusetts. By the time he turned up, officials had given up on the search, assuming that he drowned. And although he was never officially declared dead, that was what they assumed happened because there were tracks out onto the ice that just suddenly stopped. But his family never really gave up hope that he was still alive because there was no cracks or breaks in the ice anywhere. The tracks just stopped into nothingness. Number 4, UFOs. Another mystery that's plagued Michigan for years are massive amounts of UFO or UAP sightings. There's just hundreds and hundreds of people who've seen mysterious things in the sky and just never gotten their questions answered. We've even had the US Air Force getting involved. In 1953, a fighter jet disappeared over Lake Superior on its way to investigate an unidentified blip in the radar near the Keweenaw Peninsula. 2 lieutenants took off in the F-89C Scorpion from the Kinross Air Force Base. The Air Force released a statement initially saying that the jet was, quote, followed by radar until it merged with an object 70 miles off Keweenaw Point in Upper Michigan. After that, it just vanished. But the Air Force wound up taking it all back and sending out a new statement which said that the jet found and identified the unidentified object as a Canadian plane that had gone off course and that the pilots had crashed. The Coast Guard, the US Air Force, the Canadian Air Force all got involved in the search, but never found anything. Canadian officials say that no flights had been taking place in the area that night. The Project Blue Book file backed up the Air Force's second statement, and said that the pilot probably had vertigo and crashed, and said that it wasn't surprising that nothing was ever found given the depths of Lake Superior. Now the story is known as the Kinross Incident. Fast forward to 1994, when multiple people in Holland say that they saw a triangular-shaped UFO gliding just silently over the sky. It had bright lights and was bigger than a football field. Even police say that they saw it. Nothing ever came of it, and it still remains unexplained to this day. And then we have the Dexter Incident of 1966. If you're not sure where Dexter is, it's a small town near Ann Arbor. Multiple people say that they saw lights and objects in the sky over the course of several nights, including a glowing disc-shaped object. The Dexter Incident got national attention and is still a classic case in UFO lore. If you happen to have ever seen a UFO or a UAP or anything weird in the sky, feel free to leave a comment, especially if you have a picture, because I would love to see it. Number 3, Jimmy Hoffa. This is a story that took the world by storm when it first happened and still never fails to capture the public's attention when any new information comes out. On July 30th, 1975, Jimmy Hoffa disappeared without a trace outside the Mac's Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township. He was supposed to be meeting with 2 well-known mafia leaders, but they say he never showed up. But he's said to have called his wife around that time saying that they never showed up. So who's really telling the truth here? His disappearance sparked a massive FBI investigation, captured the public's imagination, and led to countless theories about what happened to him. Some people think that he was killed by the mob to keep him from reclaiming power within the Teamsters because he was banned from holding any type of union leadership title after he got out of prison. Some people think that he's buried under the Giant Stadium in New Jersey. However, that's not a theory I subscribe to because it doesn't make any sense to travel all the way across the country with him. Some people think he's buried in the Renaissance Center. There's a million different theories, and I may at a later point go more into detail about them. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Despite extensive searches, Jimmy Hoffa's body has never been found. Number 2, Bigfoot. You can't escape him. Not in Michigan, not anywhere in the United States. People love Bigfoot. People have been seeing him for hundreds, if not thousands of years. He's everywhere. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, has been part of Native American folklore for centuries. Indigenous tribes like the Ojibwe and Odawa have tales of hairy, man-like creatures inhabiting the wilderness. These legends laid the groundwork for modern-day sightings. Reports of Bigfoot in Michigan date back to the early 20th century. One of the more famous cases happened in the 1960s near the Manistee National Forest, where witnesses claimed to have seen a large, ape-like creature roaming the woods. In 1965, a woman named Rose Owen and her teenage daughter say that Bigfoot stopped right in front of their car as they were driving through Monroe County. Now, she tried to stop, she's freaking out, but she wound up grazing the creature, and before they could even think to do anything, the creature apparently came up, punched the teenager right in the face, and then took Owen and slammed her head against the inside of the car's interior. And this is backed up by what they looked like. I guess the teenager had bruises and stuff, and then Owen herself had 2 black eyes. They both took lie detector tests, and while the teenager did not pass, Owen did pass the lie detector test, so. Next, we have our final Michigan mystery, and in my opinion, maybe one of the best. I'm talking about number 1, the Michigan Dogman. And the Dogman's pretty much the only creature who can out-cryptid Bigfoot. Sorry, Bigfoot fans, but I do have a favorite, and that favorite is the Dogman. The Dogman entered the public spotlight in 1987 thanks to radio DJ Steve Cook, who made a pretty catchy song detailing the alleged encounters with this mythical creature. If you listen to the song, it says that the Dogman legend dates back to 1887 in Wexford County, when 2 lumberjacks ran across a mysterious creature with the body of a man and the head of a dog, naming it the less than creative Dogman. Since then, similar encounters have been reported across Michigan and even in Wisconsin, but mostly up north. And it happens as recently as 2017 when a truck driver says that he saw the Dogman as he was driving through the Manistee Forest. The truck driver stops because he feels like there may have been an air leak in his brakes. So he hops out, he crawls under the car, and he starts trying to fix it. However, as he's working, he starts to feel more and more uneasy, and he develops this feeling that someone or something may be watching him. So he hops back in his truck and he starts driving uphill. But then he happens to glance out his passenger side window, and much to his horror, he sees a wolf head as some kind of a wolf creature is running alongside of his truck. Now, he's driving a 10-foot tall, probably 9-10-foot tall semi-truck. So this has to be a very big creature, and he's going at 25 miles an hour. So he starts freaking out. And what do people do when they start freaking out? Depending on where you're at, some of them might grab their gun. So he grabs a gun and he shoots the dog 2 times in the head. And he keeps going. And he's like, what just happened? What just happened? So he, about a mile up the road, stops and he turns back around. And he wants to know, 1, did I just kill that thing? And 2, did that even happen? Am I going crazy? But he comes back and there's nothing there. So that's one recent story of the Dogman. And it's worth noting that in the song by Steve Cook, he says that the Dogman is seen every 7 years or something like that. Skeptics say that the Dogman could be a misidentified animal. Maybe a bear. There's plenty of bears in northern Michigan. Or just people making up stories for fun or for entertainment or attention, who knows. However, the similarities within a lot of these accounts kind of indicate something more sinister might be lurking in Michigan's vast wilderness. So those are my top 5 Michigan mysteries. Thank you for watching. If you have any interesting stories you'd like to share, feel free to comment. Like, share, and subscribe. I've got a lot of fun stuff in the works for you. And as always, have a grave day.